Welcome to The Joy Perspective, the podcast where I share life's challenges, things I've learned through years of personal development, and help others shift their perspective and find their joy. I'm Lauren Valdez, and together we'll dive into how changing the way we think can unlock possibilities, spark creativity, and transform the everyday. Let's dive in. Today we're talking about something I know many of us have faced, the comparison trap. Finding joy in your own journey and not comparing yourself to others. So whether you've struggled quietly or openly about this, I want this space to feel like a warm cup of tea or a warm cup of coffee and a deep breath. Let's unpack it together and discover some joy in this process. So I could start with a personal story about how I compared myself to other top leaders, or I compared myself to other moms. But for just a moment, I want you to think, who do you compare yourself to? Is it someone else's success, their job or their promotion or their income, their social status? Or is it a physical appearance? Is it something that they have, whether it's a body type, a weight, an age, a beauty standard, skincare routine? Is it something like that, a physical appearance that you're comparing? What about relationship status? Are you comparing singleness to being married, or married to singleness, or parenting styles, family dynamics? What about life timeline? I know this is a huge one for many people. They feel like they're falling behind, or they haven't hit certain milestones, or got married at the right age, or bought a house at the right age. Is it a timeline that you're comparing yourself to? Or the worst, I think, the social media highlight reels. And we're going to talk a little bit about social media. You know, other people are posting their vacations or their achievements or their perfectly curated family. Keep that in mind. It's what they're posting. So think for just a moment, what is it that you compare yourself to? I know I personally caught myself comparing timelines. That was something, I was in college and I had a friend, still friends to this day, but a friend who completed her bachelor's in 3 years. And I'm like, why didn't I finish my bachelor's in 3 years? I could have done it. And I kind of, for a moment, compared myself and I was like, well, great, you didn't though. Moving forward, right? So think for just a moment right now in today, what is it that you find yourself comparing to? And now let's talk about how social media distorts that and keep in perspective the full gravity of that post. You're looking at someone's filtered, cropped, perfectly curated post of 10 seconds, and you're comparing it to your unfiltered, raw life as a whole. It's like judging someone's progress in a marathon by somebody else's photo at the finish line. That doesn't make sense. You're making progress through it. Don't look at someone else's finish line and go, man, I wish I could have that. Because you will, right? Keep working at what you want and what your purpose is and what your objective is, and you'll get to where you want to be. But looking at the finish line when you're just starting the marathon and comparing that, well, we've got some work to do in between, right? And that's their journey versus your journey. They went through all of those steps to get there. They went through, the endurance and the suffering through that marathon. So when you're looking at social media, please always keep the perspective of that is somebody's, I don't want to say filtered, but somebody's perspective on this was good enough to post versus the real, the raw, the day-to-day. Okay, and how does comparison steal you from the presence, from being present even, to contentment or contentment even? What are you giving up gratitude in when you're looking at what somebody else has? This one's hard. It's hard to sometimes take a step back and go, I'm comparing what I have to what they have, and it makes you feel like you're lacking something. It makes you feel like, well, I don't have that. And the reality is, if we spent more time in looking at what we have and what we've been blessed with or what we've worked for, you'll find so much more joy in that. Now, I know, you guys, I am undiagnosed, but I know I've got ADHD. My therapist knows I have ADHD. And so I sometimes look at the messiness that can be my desk, if you will, or the messiness that can be my home at times. And I compare myself to those that I see on social media where they've got this pristine house and everything is clean and beautiful. And I will often think, man, why can't my house be that way? Well, I've got two crazy kiddos and they've got a mama with ADHD. So that's why. And then I have to remind myself, like, look at the mess on the kitchen table. We played Guess Who and we left out the game. I mean, I do try to get my kids to learn how to clean up their own messes or, spend time cleaning up. But sometimes I have to take that step back and go, that's awesome. I got to have game night with my kiddos tonight. And I got to enjoy that time with them. And yeah, we spent that 30, 45 minutes playing games instead of cleaning up our mess for the day. And I'm okay with that. My journey isn't to have this perfect, pristine house. Do I strive to spend 15 minutes each night before we, settle down and play a video game with my husband or settle down and watch TV? Yeah, that's the goal. Most nights we kind of get there. Maybe some nights. I'll even downgrade it to some nights. But I have to stop comparing myself to those pristine houses in order to be grateful for the chaos that's in my home, for the time I get to spend with my kids, reading Harry Potter with my kids each night before bed. That takes away from our time to clean up their playroom each night. Oh, well. I spend more time being grateful when I start looking at what I have versus what somebody else has. Okay, I will say I have heard and I believe that comparison can bring inspiration, but it can also intimidate. And it can also lead you to try to imitate someone else. So keep in mind that inspiration should lift you up. It should bring you joy. It should make your life better, if you will. Whereas imitation and being intimidated, there you go, by somebody else's can drain you of your joy. What you see in others can spark you, or it can harm you. You weren't made to copy somebody else. You weren't made to be exactly like somebody else. You were made and created to create your own life, to be your own person. So use some comparison to be inspiration. I'll give you an example. My boss right now, I absolutely love and adore her. And she has this stoicism about her that I have felt so inspired by. And I don't sit there and beat myself up because I can't just let things roll off like she can. Instead, I've used it to actually practice it in myself, not try to imitate her, but I use it to inspire me to go, I'm trying to think of an example, and my husband might get mad at me for sharing this, but I remember what it was. Okay, you guys, I could go on a whole series about financially smart decisions. And if that's something you do want to hear, like my life lessons on what I've learned, feel free to message me, connect with me on social media and tell me, like, totally do it. I will. Okay. And I'll air all our dirty laundry. Just kidding. But one of the things is, interest. I hate paying interest on credit cards. I have a fiery passion inside of me. Yes, I will explode. Okay. So we are looking one time and my husband says, like, oh, shoot, we got charged $17 interest or whatever last month. And old not practicing some form of stoicism would have been like, oh my gosh, why, or I'd have been like, forget it, I'm taking over, bills because I can't stand this, whatever. And then, so when this happened, I go, no biggie. We'll just watch it for next month. Now we'll both be mindful of it instead of it being all on you. And that like practice of stoicism, I had to like just think for a moment and be like, this is the phrase, it's not an 11. On a scale from 1 to 10, it's not an 11. It's not an emergency. Okay, we paid $17 in interest. I'm sure before him and I got together and got our finances in order, I was paying a lot more per month for my interest each month. It's fine. But I used her stoicism to teach me to self-regulate. It's not an 11. Are there still moments where I blow up or I blow things out of proportion and I call it an 11 when it's not an 11? Sure. But I'm practicing this in myself because this is something that has inspired me. All right. I say that word a lot. It's fine. Your journey is your journey. And I say that because your journey doesn't have the same path, the same lessons, the same timing, or the same purpose as somebody else. And when we look at comparing whatever it is, whether it's the body type or the timeline or the promotion, we often forget those things. We don't look at the detours or delays or obstacles that we've overcome that have shaped us into being something stronger or smarter or more relatable or whatever it is. Your journey is filled with these things that shape who you are. So your journey is going to look different than someone else's. And I think that with this, for me, I really think that our obstacles and the things that we go through should be looked at as learning opportunities. And maybe that's the teacher in me. But look at them as learning opportunities. What can you learn from the obstacles that you've overcome? What can you learn from the delays or the detours? Because when you get to, I think life is all a journey. There's really like no destination in my eyes. I used to think there was always this destination. It used to be like my downfall where I was like, well, if I could just have this, then I would be happy. Or if I could just have this, then I would, I should write this down because this should be a whole episode in itself, is thinking of like but I just need this to whatever. Because that's not good either, right? I think that our journey along the way, we use the things that we've gone through to teach us, whether it's to teach us good or bad, whether it's to teach us like, I don't want to be like that, or I do want to be like that, or I'm stronger because of that. Keep in mind your journey is so different than someone else's, and use the journey that you have gone through to better you through the rest of your journey. Okay, I'm going to go into this, and I'm hoping to keep this brief and short, but comparison is so subtle in my eyes. It's so, sometimes we can find ourselves like, okay, here's an example. This is not so subtle one. I was with 2 coworkers, and both of their names are Ashley, and they both have Jeep Wranglers, and they were talking about their Jeep Wranglers, and I have a Jeep Compass, and the Compass was not my end goal. I really loved the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I've always loved the Jeep Grand Cherokee since my sister, I don't know, I think I was like 18 years old when I had her Jeep while she was overseas. And I just fell in love with it. So anyways, I caught myself while they're talking about their Jeep Wranglers. I'm like, ooh, maybe I will get a Jeep Wrangler. They have a hybrid Jeep Wrangler. And I'm like, I literally stopped for a second. I was like, Lauren, do you even want a Jeep Wrangler? Like, what? So in that instance, that was not so subtle. That was just, I don't know what it was definitely comparison, but it wasn't quite the comparisons I'm talking about. But there are subtle ways that we compare ourselves, where it's, what is it that triggers your subtle comparisons? Is it scrolling through other people's social media and seeing what they have or what they're doing or the perfect family they have or, body types they have or whatever it is? The travel, I know, travel, I love traveling. And so when I see people travel, I'm like, oh, I want to go there. But is it the scrolling? Is it conversing with a certain person that brings on a lot of your comparison? Is it a moment of doubt for you when you are feeling like you're not enough? All of these little things all add up to several comparisons, if that makes sense. So when you're scrolling, there's subtle comparisons. In conversations, there's subtle comparisons. When you're doubting yourself, there's subtle comparisons. And I have found that in order for me to overcome these subtle comparisons, just like I did in that Ashley Wrangler situation, I actually have to ask myself, is this about them? Or is it about me feeling like I don't have enough? Or is it awareness in something that I would like to have? Like the inspiration I got from her stoicism versus me wanting a Jeep Wrangler all of a sudden, even though I don't want a Jeep Wrangler all of a sudden. So asking ourselves, I don't know if anybody really does this the way that I do this, but I often talk to myself a lot. Does that make me crazy? It's okay. I talk to myself because I will catch myself, and this is more of a recent thing through the coaching that I've done or the personal development I've done, where I have to question my own thoughts sometimes because we've got, I couldn't tell you the number, but 20,000 thoughts going through our head in a minute or something crazy. And when I catch myself in these thoughts, I ask myself, like, is this really what I want? Because if it's something you really want, use it as inspiration to start working out or doing the ab exercises that I keep putting off. You guys, I keep putting off these ab exercises. I clearly don't care that much. But you can ask yourself, is this something you really want? And how can I make steps in the right direction to achieve what I really want for me? Not based off of what somebody else has, but what you really want for yourself. And I know I've talked about this in a previous episode about writing down 3 things toward what you want. In these times of comparison, ask yourself these things. Is this really what I want? Am I willing to do the work that it takes to get there? And what are the next 3 steps that I have to take in that direction? Well, I want to talk about those 3 steps that you're going to write. One of those 3 steps could be visualization or journaling. If you've never tried visualization, it is really hard for me to do, and until I keep practicing and practicing and practicing. But you can journal, right? Write these things out, include the things in your life that you are proud of, include the things, where you want to go, instead of from a perspective of I'm behind on this or I don't have that. Instead, you can look at it as I'm preparing myself for, or I'm being prepared for. And writing these things out can help you get to where you want to be and get your mindset ready for where you want to be. The other thing about visualization is you can go through in your mind seeing yourself with those things. What would and get so specific. This is where it gets hard for me, is I have to get so specific of what is it going to look like when I have this? What would it look like when I'm waking up in the morning? What would it look like with my kids' interactions? What would it look like with my husband's interactions? What would it look like with a client's interactions? Or whatever it is that you're visualizing, go through it from a lens of like, what would a day in the life once I achieve that thing? What would it look like? What would it feel like? And that visualization, one of 2 things will happen. You'll either realize you really do want to work toward that, and those 3 steps of what you have to take next would actually become easier, or you realize, I don't actually want that. This is something that I recently have been trying to do with, like, what is the next step for me? What is it that I want? And I have to put myself 5 years ahead, put myself 10 years ahead, and think about the day in a life. And it's made me realize some things that I don't want. It's also made me realize some things that I do want. One of those things was this podcast. I want to start this podcast. I want to help people. I want to bring the lessons and the things that I've learned to others, whether it helps one person or it helps 1,000 people. I want that. And I'm okay with sitting at this podcast only helped one person, because they're life lessons and they're things that I have done coaching for and paid thousands of dollars for and done tons of reading for to get to the point where I can bring these perspective shifts or these ideas to others and help that one person. I'm here for it. And I got there through some visualization, through some hard realizations. When it comes to comparison or comparing ourselves to others, one thing I feel like we lack in doing is celebrating our own little wins. When we're not celebrating our own little wins, we are often comparing ourselves to someone else's end goal or somebody else's, huge promotion or somebody else's whatever. But take time in celebrating your little wins. Like today, I posted a reel. I am celebrating that. I have not been as consistent as I want to be in my reels. And instead of beating myself up or comparing myself to somebody who posts 3 a day, I don't know how they do it. Good for them. That's their journey. That's them. I'm going to celebrate the fact that I posted one today. And you guys, I recorded 2 others so that I could post those 2 eventually. Those are my little subtle wins. And when I spend time celebrating my little wins, I stop worrying so much about what other people are doing and comparing myself to what they're doing. And instead, I'm making positive, joyful actions in my life. And that's what matters. Not in this conceited, my life is what matters way, but truthfully, you guys, your life and your actions in your life are what matter to you. That's what's going to bring you joy. We can't depend on other people to bring us joy. It's got to be from within us. So as we wrap this up, I just want to remind you to find the joy in your path. In your path, not somebody else's, not comparing it to somebody else's. But the path to joy isn't paved with comparison. It's walked with intention, with gratitude, with focusing on our own race. You don't need to run their race. Stay on your path. Stay focused on what you want. And even question yourself, is this really what I want? That's where the joy is waiting, when we focus on our own versus somebody else's. Thank you for joining me today on The Joy Perspective. I hope this episode helped you shift your mindset and find a little bit more joy in your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss one. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at @Lauren_Valdez for more inspiration and updates. I'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you. Until next time, keep shifting your perspective and finding your joy.